In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Photoshop's Perspective Warp tool to make proportional perspective adjustments to your sketches. I have one old sketch that I created many years ago and an image that I found online that we are both going to edit in this video. So subscribe and follow along to learn how to use the Perspective Warp tool. All right, so here's my sketch in Photoshop. I just imported it right in. I'm going to click the confirm button at the top. And then I'm going to go to my image layer and then image rotation, and then I will rotate it to get it right how we want it. So just looking right off the bat, you can see it slanted in on the sides. The bottom part is not, it's a mess. So we're just going to clean it up. It's a lot of room for improvement. Crop this so that it fits here a little bit better. Okay, so as I said, there are a few different things we can do here. You'll notice the couch is a mess right here, but the biggest thing I want to do is just edit the borders, the outlines. So what we're going to do is go up to edit. Actually, first I'm going to rasterize this later. It was a smart layer, smart object, which was really great for a lot of things, but not for this particularly. So I'm going to go up to edit, and then I'm going to click the perspective warp option. So the first thing with perspective warp, if you notice in the control bar, it says layout and warp. So layout is where you define your planes and warp is where you distort them. So very first thing we're going to do is outline a box, and I'm going to draw not the box that I want, but the box that already exists. So I'm going to follow the lines that already exist and create my box. The cool thing is, you notice when I just did that, it actually popped into place. Photoshop is really intuitive with that. It automatically kind of knows where your lines want to be. So you want to draw a plane anywhere that you're going to want to edit. So I'm going to just draw these planes. Then once I have it outlined, I will click the warp option as I mentioned. It's going to give you a little tutorial. So the first thing I want to do is just make my lines straight. So I have the rulers up. If you don't have the rulers up, go to view rulers and they will show. And then once the rulers are up, you can actually just pull from the rulers to create guides. So I'm going to pull out just 3 guides really quickly here. To try to get some straight lines as a starting point on this. You can see my center line was the most obnoxiously distorted. So if I start moving these perspective warp anchor points just by clicking and dragging, you'll see they kind of pop to the grids. That's called snap to. So if you go up to view, snap to, make sure guides are selected. If they're not selected, you can click it to select it. And you'll see it just pops into the guides right there. That kind of fixed a lot of my general problems. Now, you'll see this couch in the background. This rug is not perfectly straight. There are a lot of nuances here that it would take a lot of time to fix. But I'll show you a few other strategies. So that was perspective warp. Another thing you can do is go to your brush tool. So for this couch specifically, if I were to use the perspective warp paint on this, it's going to distort the door frame and some other things that are actually okay. So I wouldn't want to use the perspective warp frame on the couch. For that, I would actually just use the brush tool. I'm going to sample the color of the background of the paper. And then using the brush tool, I can just comb over some of this with a really fine brush point. I'm going to erase what exists here. And then still with the brush tool, I could sample the color of the sketch lines. And I could either, with the brush, redraw in what I'm wanting to see, or I can use the line tool down here. So I would want to go up here in the control bar, change the stroke to one of those more predominant sketch colors. And then with the line tool, I could draw in to actually just make it more parallel to the top. So that's another option for drawing that stuff back in. Now, another thing I want to show you is a simpler sketch. So let's say we have this chair sketch. I just found this image online. I'm going to crop out some of this background stuff so we can just look at the chair. And we're going to change the perspective on this. So clicking my chair image, I'm going to go up to image, perspective warp. So I will draw a box around the top of the chair seat. And then another thing to notice is you really don't need to draw planes around each chair leg. You only want to draw planes around things that are going to want to warp together. So like I want both of these chair legs to move together, so I don't need to draw them separately. And I want these to warp together. And then the back kind of looks okay, actually. So I'm going to leave that there. I'll move that back like this. Okay, so then we're going to click warp like we did before. And then you'll see I'm just going to move these chair legs a little bit. I'm going to fix the perspective on this by pulling it in. All right. And something that you can do to try to create like guides for yourself would be to use the rectangle tool, and you could actually draw rectangles here and lay them out exactly how you want them with rotating them so that you have something to go off of here. There used to be a perspective grid tool, which in the earlier versions of Photoshop, which kind of helped. A lot of people think it was more trouble than it was actually worth. So you have to do some of this on your own. I've also seen some cool tutorials with the star tool, how to create your own individual grid, but the rectangle tool with some rotation involved would be a good way to start. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe and follow me for more design tips.